Welcome to the Speaker Meeting, a space where we break the silence one story at a time. Every episode, you'll hear from someone who's been there, through the struggle of addiction, the turning point into recovery, and the journey after. Because no matter where you are, you're not alone. Recovery is possible, and hope is real. My hope is that by sharing these stories, you'll believe it to be true. My name is Chibi. My sobriety date is April 5th, 2024, and this is the Speaker Meeting.
So my name is John Burke. I am a writer and performer from Jersey City, New Jersey. I have this December, on December 17th, I will be 8 years sober, which will be pretty dope. Yeah. So pretty surreal of a concept to me. Just it doesn't even feel like it was a year ago that I decided to get sober. So it's kind of remarkable to see, like, just to hear the numbers out loud like that, and being around people that have significantly more time. That seems overwhelming, or people that are just starting out and knowing that I'm somewhere in the middle and can see myself in both is pretty dope.
It's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations, and thank you for coming on here to share your story with us and the world now. We have a tradition on this podcast wherein the guest will typically pick a random deck of tarot cards and then pick a random card out of said deck. Because we were doing this virtually, I have randomly picked a deck and randomly picked a card for you.
Dope. All right. And I'm unfamiliar with the tarot world, so I'm excited to dive into this with you.
Well, the card that came up for you is the wheel reversed. And when the wheel shows up reversed, it is a reminder that life isn't always moving in the direction we expect. Upright, the wheel is about cycles. It's about destiny and change flowing in our favor. But when it's reversed, it can feel like setbacks, like delays, or like being caught in a loop that we can't quite break. It speaks to those seasons where kind of no matter how hard we push, the outcome just isn't in our control. But the thing that the wheel also reminds us of is that the wheel still continues to turn. Even when reversed, it says that nothing stays the same forever. And the challenge is learning how to navigate those detours without losing hope. And maybe even seeing that sometimes the quote unquote wrong turn forced us onto the right path. So when I look at this card, I think about surrender. I think about resilience and the courage that it takes to just kind of keep showing up. And it asks us, how do we hold on to our faith when the ground underneath us keeps shifting, right? And so I'm curious how this resonates with you as it relates to your recovery journey.
Yeah, it's actually it's funny, right? Because being that I'm not familiar with this whole concept, and then the card you pull, I can, like, as you're explaining it to me, I'm just like, God damn. All right. So I can deeply relate to a lot of what you just said, right? The wheel in that sense, right, of in terms of my sobriety, I feel like this is a direct connection with, right? So I'm a relatively new father. My daughter is 17. She's almost a year and a half. I hate doing the month thing. So she's almost a year and a half, right? And this last year, and she's my entire world. Like, I can't even believe I was a person before her. So this remarkable change in my life, right, obviously being as beautiful as it is, also comes with the typical stresses and struggles of being a new parent, right? And it definitely tests that change in life of as people in sobriety, right, and in recovery. Change is always kind of scary when we're going into it, right? The change of getting sober, the change of doing anything that we don't have control over, that we can't dictate. And this is something that's completely out of my control, other than keeping her alive, right? You know? So yeah, I mean, like, there's been times, like, I would never blame my daughter, right, of any like stresses I go through in terms of my own sobriety and stuff. But that change of the responsibility in my life and feeling out of control when I have to be in control has definitely tested my threshold of patience, my fear of where life could go if I was to go to repeated patterns, right? And what that would say as me as a father for her. And that's what kind of obviously, like, the work I've done up until this point has kept me where I'm at, but like the future steps, knowing of like, I want to be someone that she is proud to call her father, where I've seen many friends of mine or family members not rise to that occasion and seen the aftermath of things like that. So the wheel aspect of it, of like the thought of regressing or the thought of relapse, isn't something foreign. And I mean, like in sobriety in general, right? We can always see the simplicity in relapse, right? Like the easiness in just giving in to the temptations or desires that we constantly feel, regardless of the length of sobriety, right? Like there's always those subtleties and temptations that we have to work through. And any kind of struggle we come across in life will always present that concept of like, well, I mean, like, this doesn't have to be stressful, right? You can make this all kind of go away. And it's you battling with yourself constantly. And I'm fortunate enough to have a good support group, right? My wife is also sober as well. So at home, I have a great support group, one. And then two, I have a lot of friends within the program, right? Or just deep, close friends that aren't in the program, but are just supportive of my journey and where I'm at and where I've become. And fortunately, I can lean on a lot of people. I also just got a new therapist last week, which has been dope. Yeah, hell yeah. So he's been great. And I've been like kind of, obviously it was my first session with a new guy. So I've been able to kind of express any of those newer thoughts that I've been going through. But yeah, in terms of that card, I can definitely see the connection in my current state, aside from anything that prior has happened in the last 2 years, which these last 3 years of my life have been like kind of out of control in personal like experiences of loss and things like that. But the best thing was my daughter. So she's kept me straight while also allowing me to reflect.
Yeah. And test.
As a long-winded answer. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, and congratulations on a year and a half with the daughter. She's everything I see is precious.
She gets it all from her mom and not from me.
Setting her on the music path right is all I'm saying.
Thank you.
But let's take it back then for you. What was your relationship like with addictive substances, or with substance abuse, or with addictive behaviors? What was it like in the beginning, and how did that evolve over time?
Yeah. So I can't tell you the first drink I ever had, right? Like, and alcohol is my drug of choice, right? I didn't really venture into the hard drugs. Like I played around with most of them, but it never really was compelled to continue with anything more than alcohol. Alcohol has always been the thing. But I can't tell you the first drink I had that like was like the first time I ever tasted alcohol, right? But I can definitely pinpoint the first time that I noticed that this is something I want to pursue, as like kind of toxic as that thought is, right? Like it was more for me, and I think a lot of people can relate to it, right? For me, it's been a lot of the social aspect, like the social anxiety I have deeply in terms of just being in environments with a lot of people, or really my own through therapy, my own deep rooted issues kind of come from affection in general, right? My deep desire to be desired has been the driving force for my addictive behavior and my choices, right? So always wanting to be someone that was interesting, funny, attractive, clever, all these things. And I always doubted who I was prior. Like my whole life growing up, it was always my friends were the cooler ones, the more athletic ones, the better looking ones, everything that I wasn't, right? And everything I was envious of. So once I did have that experience, I remember I was at like a show, like a hardcore punk show, and we were in the back seat of this older kid's car, and I saw this girl at the event that I was like madly in love with for like a few months, but madly in love with. I never got to speak to her. I just knew her, and like we talk occasionally, but deeply like, oh my God, I can't believe she likes me. But I didn't think she liked me. I thought like she would just like talk to me because like she felt bad. I don't know. Whatever the case was. But that day, I just remember being at that show at that nighttime, being in his car. It was me, him, my other boy Chino, and I don't remember who was in the back seat with me. Somebody else. But they were passing this bottle of SoCo, and this was like my first time ever like being with older kids at a venue at a show that I wanted to just kind of be a part of the whole scene. Right, it was like my first introduction to going to local shows, and then passing it around. I'm just like, all right, fuck it, and I just take a sip, and I realize like, oh, this tastes like fucking dog shit. But whatever. I mean, they're all doing it, and everyone's kind of like, hey, I mean, like no one was pressuring me at all either. It wasn't like they like forced it onto me, but I don't know. I kind of like, I knew the social element that I was in, and then having a couple shots of that and just knowing like, all right, I mean, like I eat things that I don't like. So I'll just take big gulps of this, get it down, and then it's over. I'm good. And then I step out of this car and we go back into the show, and I was the most outgoing I could have ever imagined. I was the most interesting person there. It was funny. I got all the attention. I was talking to a lot of girls, and the one girl I was really into me. And I like couldn't even fathom the concept that she was remarkably attracted to me, let alone talking to me. So that was the first step in realizing like, wow, this makes me better. I don't get drunk. I just get better. Like, this is fantastic. So that was the step in the direction of knowing I can be who I want to be and be perceived as the person I hope people can perceive me as with the aid of this. And that was something that was the first stepping stone. Obviously, there's a lot of nuances with it, being with older kids in a scene of music that I wanted to be a part of. I ended up making a band and being in it heavily for a while, which was the dark times of my life. But that step into like that idolization of people I just deeply admired from going to shows and then being a part of it was something that was like, it felt like coming home in a way.
For sure.
That was definitely that way.
Like you were finally able to express yourself in a way that like didn't feel hindered, right? Or
Absolutely.
It's funny as you say that. I remember when I was in rehab, one of the counselors talked about, we often talk about the notion of our bodies having an allergic reaction, right, to these substances, right? And when you look at alcohol in specific, like alcohol is a sedative, but for an alcoholic, the allergic reaction is kind of the opposite of what the drug is intended to do, right? And I was just thinking, we were mentioning that, where it's like you took all this alcohol and suddenly you're full of energy and you're out there and ambitious and, unhinged, as it were, right? So it was just an interesting observation of how like when we talk about how like, oh, other people don't drink how I drink, it's also like other people don't feel the way that I feel when I drink, right? It has a completely different effect on us for some reason.
And that was something that like I even noticed too. My friends would say like, man, like, I don't know what it is, but when you drink, I look in your eyes and it's not you anymore. Like there's just something like, it's clearly I'm talking to you, but like, you're not you anymore. Like you could see it in your eyes that there's just like this glazed over different person that you become. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I become fucking good. I become fun. Like, what do you mean I become a different person? Of course I am. Who would want to hang out with the other John? That guy sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like the allergic reaction aspect of it, right? Like our reaction to things are the issue itself.
Yeah. So I imagine, because that was when you were a teenager, right?
Correct. Yes. That time I was 14. Okay. I was a kid. Yeah.
I imagine it didn't go into full blown alcoholism at 14 years old, right? But
no. It was a gradual process of weaning myself in. I was just dipping my toe into the shallow end at that time.
The moment
that was my first experience that I can pinpoint, though, of wow, this is something I need to pursue.
Yeah. Where were the moments then where maybe the notion that you're not in control, right? Or this might not be a good thing. Did those start to like hint themselves at you throughout the course of your drinking?
So that's a good question, right? So from that, say that as the starting point. Throughout those years, like the high school years and stuff, I was just partying, but I was drinking more than my friends would, or had a different relationship with drinking when we would drink. I wasn't drinking every day. I never actually was someone that drank every day, even in my deep addictive times, right? I wasn't that, and that's kind of what prolonged it. It made me think, like, I mean, I'm not as bad as that guy. I had friends that were heavily addicted to heroin, right? So I look at some of my friends, I'm like, I'm trying to help them get clean with not even realizing, like, I need to get my shit together. So I think with that mentality I had, and there was probably 4 of my friends that were either addicted to, say, who ended up moving on to doing crack or doing heroin and stuff, right? That I was kind of being the friend to help them, with now realizing that was me pretending to help myself by deflecting it onto them. But granted, now my one boy is 11 years clean, which is fantastic. 2 of them are no longer with us. But there are those moments where I or at least helped push them to go to rehab or just start going to meetings when I myself wasn't doing shit other than telling them that, then going out and getting fucked up with my other friends that didn't have at all the same, like, obvious issues, right? So in terms of myself, it was a very prolonged process. Like, even through high school, I would be drinking. I had one of those hiking backpacks. They have like the little connection to the water thing. I fill that up with jungle juice and be walking through school, fucking blacked out, just going to geometry class as like a 17-year-old. And like, it was funny. Everyone thought it was funny. Nobody knew because the teachers knew. Like, I went to an art high school, so we were very free with a lot of stuff too, which allowed us a lot more independence to like manipulate the system. If you're, you know, the way we are, right? So we figure we see that little inch, we take it and make it work. But my life didn't really start getting out of control. I was in a relationship right out of high school. That was probably the building blocks of, wow, I need to start getting my shit together. But it took almost a decade later for me to actually do that. But she was heavily into drinking and doing coke and stuff, and I just being with her would do that, and then we would be partying all the time, and it was just a very toxic, like, emotionally abusive relationship. She was physically abusive. I was just, you know, what am I going to do? It's just, girls are just passionate and they hit you, and like, it is what it is. So, but then it was just a constant building of that, right? And I was never self-aware of my own issues in that time. But then she would go out and I would stay home. I would stay home and drink by myself with my dog, and I would just take Xanax and then just chug like a little pint of Jack Daniels. And I would just be sitting home, and that would be my Thursday through Sunday. That would just be what I would do every single night that night. And then she would come home and we wouldn't speak, and then we'd fight all week. And then I was with her for a long 6 years. It was a long time. So it was a very toxic 6 years. And the crazy thing is, within those 6 years, I wasn't really aware of my issues, but I had friends of mine then coming to me. Hey, John, we're a little worried about you. You're always so fucking violent and angry. We go out. You're not really as fun as you used to be. Now you're looking to get into a fight. You're looking for anyone to cause a problem. Or the girl I was with at the time would push me to want to get into fights, or because that's what made us fun and interesting. It became less of being liked and more about being feared. So then it became like this, like, don't fuck with John. And I'm not a big dude, but I was a lunatic, so I just didn't care. And it was what it was. But when we broke up was my first step into like oh, wow, I need to like pump the brakes. I think like I'm really kind of doing all the wrong things. And my one boy, Joe, came to me about it too, he is someone that, one of my best friends of all. He sadly passed away last 2 years ago now. Oh my God, April will be 2 years. And he was someone that kind of would come to me about just shit, but he was also going through his own shit. But again, he was like where I was before. For my other friends, he was doing that with me, but I needed it. But there was no steps I was taking to not be banged out all the time. I just wasn't taking the Xanax anymore. I wasn't going out and doing coke and drinking. I was just like, I would just drink every once in a while, and but those once in a while, I'd be binging and drinking the whole night, and I'd be drinking into the next day. And it wasn't until, I guess, probably when I was with my now wife, she was being more conscious about her issues with alcohol, which made me see the connection of how I used to be with friends, and being like, hey, yeah, I think there is something going on because every time you drink, X, Y, and Z happens. And then she would then relate that to me too, that I became less outwardly problematic and more internally problematic. It was an obvious depression that I was in. It was an obvious self-loathing and an obvious, basically just very toxic thoughts and way I would treat myself in a way, right? So leading towards like probably a year or two before I got sober was when I started really thinking like, I need to just get this shit together and under wraps. But then that final year was when I was like, I had like a emotional breakdown. We were in like Cape May, New Jersey, and this like really nice thing. It was the year I proposed to her, and it was like that was the build-up relation, like the build-up, kind of like with my daughter, right? Like seeing my future and seeing where I was going, and realizing like, shit, I need to be who I want to be for you and for myself. I need to get my shit in order because I don't see myself living long enough to be the person I want to be if I continue doing this shit. Yeah.
So then what was the moment that led to you really making the choice to make a change, right? And to seek help?
So that moment would be when the night before we were down in Cape May, when I had that like emotional break, was when I was out drinking and I was just constantly, so of course, I'm going to drive when I'm drunk. Why wouldn't I? It's like a video game. So of course, like it's everyone else's problem, not mine. So I'd be out drinking and on that way home, on that ride home, I was just, I'll never forget it. Just being like on the road, staring at every tree or every like divider in the road, and just being like, I mean, I could just pull off into that. Everything was like an opportunity to end who I was. Every little obstacle on the road I thought of as a way of escaping the things I thought of in my head of how I felt about myself, or knowing that no matter, like, you always have that real high when you're high, and that come down of like that guilt and feeling like shit would happen as I was high or as I was drunk. I mean, like, it wasn't like, oh, the next morning was always the worst. It was always like after I left everybody, now it's the worst. And then it leads into the whole next day. But I didn't want there to be a next day. I wanted that to end before I got home, because I only saw myself as a problem for my fiance. I only saw myself as a burden to the people around me, that I was just in the way all the time, regardless if people never said that to me, regardless of people wanting that. I would just take anything as like, this is a clear sign that I'm not needed here. Everyone would be better without me. It would just work out for them if I didn't show up anymore. Yeah. And it was that moment when I was like really willing to do it on that drive. Like, I was just close my eyes for a little while and letting go of the wheel, and like fortunately still on the road, like things like that, where I was just like, wow, okay, so now let's reassess this situation. And I told her basically all of this that next day when I had my little come to light moment. Yeah. And she as well. But yeah, that was probably that push. Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of those were the same kinds of thoughts and fears that you were describing when you were 14 years old, right? And feeling like, I'm not good enough, or other people are better, or, like a lack of self-value, right? And self-worth.
Completely.
So then,
yeah, I would just always assume even my wife would be better off finding someone that would definitely provide more, or just literally down to fucking attraction. I was like, this guy, she could definitely find someone better looking than me. It was like, it's such a thick way. It was just, everything was so physical for me. It was just a deep desire of attraction that I didn't feel like I could ever live up to for anyone, because I don't know. I had a very masochistic mirror in my home. So
a little demon inside you.
Yeah.
So then what'd you do? Like, what were the actions that you took?
So yeah, the actions I took, I just started going to meetings. I never checked myself into rehab. I never did that. Would I benefit from it? Totally. Was I defiant towards it? 100%. I only did this at all. So the Go ahead.
wasn't foreign to you.
Oh, no. So my brother, my older brother, he was in and out of rehab my whole life growing up. Family members, cousins, and like friends, everybody. Like I was just very familiar with it. I got two of my friends into rehabs up until that point. Like I was just like, I had the contact numbers. I had my parents were connected with people through family members and stuff, right? So like I knew the good rehabs, the ones that would accept you with no insurance. The one, all of them. I had all the breakdowns for everybody, but that was for everyone else, not for me. So why the fuck would I do that? But fortunately for me, I made it to where I am, not going to a rehab. Not saying that that's the right course for everybody. Not saying I did it the right way, but it did end up working for me. There wasn't any moments of I relapsed after that night. I stayed sober. I got sober and stayed sober, which was something I was proud of in that way anyway. But I just started going to meetings with friends that I helped get into situations that they would take me to theirs. I would go to AA meetings, which I didn't really care for. I did in the beginning because it was the only ones I kind of knew of, really. It was the only ones I was like, NA is for people that do hard drugs. It's not for me. I'm a drinker, so let me just go to these, which were fine, and I liked them. But I did end up going to NA meetings more because I steered. It was a little too religious based for me, and I'm not against religion at all. Just I grew up very Italian, Irish Catholic. So like I had like my own opinion about like that process, but like the higher power is dope. I'm still with it. But like I didn't really want to get into the whole like reading out of the Bible and thanking the Lord for stuff, but that works. It works. But it was just really meetings is kind of what did it all for me. Meetings and people, places, and things, like all the cliches that we get told, but they're cliches for a reason, right? Yeah. Surround yourself with the right people. You stay out of the bad areas, and you'll end up keeping straight.
Yeah,
that's really as I feel like it's such a boring story, right? Of like how I got sober in that way, but it did work for me.
Yeah. So you're talking to someone that grew up Mexican Catholic, so I get it. I like to say I'm a heroin addict and I'm a recovering Catholic also.
Yes. So, it's a lifelong recovery.
Yeah, church is always in the background. Name demon is real. But so outside of so you threw yourself into meetings. Was it just the meetings, or did you like throw yourself into the program also, like got a sponsor, work the steps, like that whole thing?
So I did work the steps. I didn't have a sponsor, which was very, very frowned upon. It was very frowned upon. But I played the game too, right? Like I wouldn't go to the same meetings all the time, so I didn't seem like a familiar face to people. I didn't really, because it was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out in the beginning, which is not good. I mean, like that's a recipe for disaster. But then I kind of got my shit together and then found a good spot locally by my house. And then I didn't get a sponsor, but I had I'd say mentors in the way of like guys I would go to that I admired their stories of where they came from. And always the older guys. I always went for like the oldest guy I could find in the room that like I would almost think I have nothing in common with, because I thought that would be better than someone that, oh, yo, you got tattoos, you like music, you're like, oh, cool, yeah, like I'll have a friend out of this. But I wasn't really looking for a friend. I was looking for someone to better me, to like show me how to be without the things I use as crutches, right? So did they ask if they wanted me to be my sponsor? Or, sure, all the time. They're like, I think you need a sponsor. I was like, I don't think you know what you're talking about. So did I have a sponsor? No. Did I treat people how people use sponsors? Totally. Am I still defiant to the idea of that I had a sponsor? No, I think I had like half a sponsor. I was what's it called when you're skateboarding? It's like your flow, like you're kind of sponsored by something, but you're like, they're not fully giving you the full spectrum of what you can get out of a sponsor. Yeah. But I did have a good support and a good group of people that I worked with. A very unconventional sobriety for sure. But
yeah, I'm getting that, like from your story from, like when you were a teenager and on, like the notion of community and the people around you feels like it's pretty strong, and you have some.
I fortunately, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I never felt alone. Well, that's not true. I'm sorry. I felt alone all the time. I was conscious of the people I had around me that were good for me, though I didn't think anyone understood me.
Yeah.
But I did know I had to get over my own bullshit and myself to be more open to the concept that, oh yeah, no, you are loved, John. You just need to fucking accept it and realize that the love you're looking for might not be the love that you really need.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then, yeah, I'm very lucky. I am very lucky that my friends got sober before I did.
Yeah, because they were there. Now you mentioned, people, places, things, all that jazz. But oftentimes, like when you talk to people that the harder drugs are the problem, like heroin, right, or meth or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
You're to stay away from those because they're not fucking everywhere, right? But alcohol is kind of everywhere.
It's every corner. Yeah. There's a liquor store. No matter where and it's the most social thing you could do, right? I mean, you can't go out with friends without someone wanting to get a drink. You can't, go to a fucking poetry event without there being, let's go to the bar after. Literally anything you do, go to a work function, there's alcohol. So it was so social that's what took a long time to realize I had an issue anyway, right? Because I wasn't alone. I wasn't picking up drugs in the fucking parking lot, like doing it by myself under an overpass. Like, was I eventually? Sure. But I didn't always. That wasn't the issue, right? It was like, this is how adults act.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people, like this guy's an alcoholic. He's fucking red, his face is red, and he's always drunk and sweating. He shakes when he's not drinking. That's an alcoholic, not me. Yeah. Like, no way.
So then, what has changed for you in that regard? Again, because like it's everywhere, right? Or did you feel comfortable being like, I have changed, so I can go to the bar with my friends and not be tempted?
So no, I didn't go out for a while. Yeah, I didn't go out at all. I really kind of dove more into like things that didn't require other people for the most part, right? I was focusing on my writing. I was focusing on, getting a new job, like things like, and just kind of diving into my professions and stuff. I got into real estate. I'm a firefighter, which was is a whole other element of guys like to go out drinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could go into that in a little bit. But yeah, it was more just kind of focusing on the friends I have that are sober. What the fuck do they do? Oh, they're gonna go hiking. We're gonna go camping. We're gonna go to the movies. We go to the fucking movies with my friends. No, I don't go to the movies with my friends. I go to the movies on dates. I go to the movies when I'm a kid. I'm not gonna go to the movies with a bunch of 15 of us, like fucking dorks after we go to Applebee's. Like, get the fuck out of here. But it rules. like I had a great time and like all those things. But being able to, I still went to like shows and stuff, right? I still went to go see bands. And that wasn't never like those like triggering moments. In the very beginning, maybe, because I didn't really go to shows either. And like that was probably my first step into doing things, was like going to big concerts or local shows where I was like, okay, but there's not really alcohol served there. So it really wasn't that temptation. Yeah, sure. It was like, I would normally be drunk here or I would normally be high here. But because I was with people that weren't, people that I also admired too, that I thought were cool. I thought these, like the older dudes that were in the music scene that like are sober, or even the younger kids that had more time than me, just like seeing it like, oh, you guys are out and like you're outside smiling. What the fuck you got to be smiling about? We're fucking sitting here. We just ate pizza and buffalo wings. How the fuck could you be happy? This is all we got. But you find your people, and it doesn't really matter where you are as long as you're with them. It's like, it's how you would, I guess I have related everything to drugs, right? It's how like, oh, I carry a pack of Xanax in my pocket in case I'm gonna have a panic attack, but it keeps me from not having a panic attack because I know if I have one, I have a safety net with me. And that's what my friends ended up becoming, and like my collective group of people became. And again, my wife, right? So I was with her all the time. And like, and I think also I'm thinking about it literally right now. I never really thought about it until right now. I think a lot of like that deep-rooted need for being wanted and attractive and interesting even fed into me not wanting to let my wife down, right? Because if I fuck up, she won't like me anymore. So then maybe like, all right, when I'm with her, it's easier to not even have that line crossed or thought, because I'm like so focused on her and wanting her to still love me. And is that toxic? Possibly. But is it helpful? I mean, it was in its own way. But also we have a very communicative relationship. So I was always very open about like, I would love to get a glass of wine right now. And she goes, oh, so would I, but we're not going to do that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And like not keeping things bottled in was the biggest thing ever, even with my friends, right? Being so like dark humory and like outward about the shit that we feel and think about. Let's it not rest on you.
Yeah.
Let you not just keep it internally, that then you start like negotiating with yourself on what's acceptable and what's not. Yeah. When you know that it's not acceptable and you say it out loud and get the reaction of people laughing at the absurdity of what you think could be normal, you realize, oh shit, yeah, no, I'm totally, obviously I'm kidding, but you're right. I would ruin everything.
Yeah.
And I got something good going now.
Good. Again, that notion of no, it totally makes sense. Now I'm curious because, we were talking about like the lack of self-value, right? The fear, insecurities, like all of that doesn't go away just because you stop drinking, right?
I'm curious. Gotta fix you.
Huh?
Still gotta fix you. That's like the other fucking cliche, right? No matter how fast and far you run, when you stop, there you are.
Yeah. So I'm curious where that work kind of came in and how you went about approaching that.
So going to therapy has been huge. I've gone through, this is my third therapist now, not for any personal reasons with the second one. The first one I didn't like, but nothing with the second one. And like, that's it, right? Like you got to address those issues, the patterns of what we do that are still addict behavior, right? The still obsessive actions, the still subtle or obvious manipulations we do to get what we want out of people. Is it great in certain fields if you're like a salesperson? Yeah, totally. Is it great if you're trying to, I don't know, make a living and it's a way you can make some money doing whatever you got to do? If you're a big hustler in that way, sure, it's great. But making your problems other people's problems is the thing I kind of worked on the most, is not putting my anxieties and stresses onto people. And having that therapist going once a week for a while, that was letting me just be conscious of me blaming people for things that I'm doing, or just being more self-reflective, even though I thought I was the most self-analytical person ever. I know so much that I don't need anyone to tell me, but I needed people to tell me. And I think therapy was huge. Being around, going to meetings, obviously, which was like not a therapy session because I fucking hate when people treat it as their therapy sessions. But going to meetings too has that cathartic experience of hearing other people's struggles and then realizing and seeing yourself in that and like you're sitting there like, this motherfucker is crazy. And you're like, well, I mean, I guess I do that sometimes. So like, then you're kind of more conscious of it. Then when you go out for the smoke break and you're all bullshitting outside, you realize that you're so similar in those ways that you kind of take yourself off that pedestal that you kind of think of yourself on over other people. Because of course, as much as I hate myself, I think I'm better than everybody, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like even it's like trying to explain it, people don't get it, right? I'm just like, I'm so much more together than you, regardless of how deeply sad I am about who I am. Yeah. So all of those things and being conscious of those things and wanting to just change those behaviors in just, again, communication and talking, I think was kind of the big thing for me. And I don't know. Let me think.
I'm curious because, I say this with all the love in the world. You are an Italian man from Jersey.
I am
pretty manly, it's a very masculine culture. Therapy not often seen as a very masculine thing. Were there any like internal hurdles that you had to overcome, or something that just kind of like opened the door for you that allowed you to accept therapy as a part of your process?
Oh yeah, I fucking was no way I'm going to therapy. I'm going to talk to somebody about my whole life. Like, go fuck them, fuck you. No way, no shot. And I was very defiant towards. Like I said before. I mean, I got meetings. I don't need to go to therapy. I got fucking meetings. Well, I got to talk to some person about some shit that has a piece of paper that tells me that they're better than me. And then also I meet therapists. I'm older than, and I'm like, no, you don't know shit. I'm not going to talk to you either. So I was super, super defiant. And I mean, like, even to this day, I still catch myself being defiant to, like, when I switched therapists, right, after my last therapist, and I got this new one, there was a lull period of a few months where I just didn't go to therapy. And I was just like, no. And that's something I still kind of struggle with too, right, is thinking, I got to figure it out now. I mean, like, what else more could I talk about? What else more can I be feeling that I haven't already felt? So, like, what's this person going to do for me that this or that other person did not, right? Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of internal struggle of, I don't know, maybe it is being an Italian New Jersey motherfucker. I don't know. Possibly, because I think I got it figured out. But I realized when I sit down for that hour, I don't got shit figured out. Uh-huh. And
you don't want to be Soprano?
I mean, Tony Soprano, that he motherfucking needed it.
Yeah.
But, and it's funny too, because guys that I work with, the firehouse, right? That was a profession I went into very nervous in terms of, like, being so open. And obviously then at that point I was ready, a couple of years sober, and going into a world where, when I was even in the fire academy, after every class they went out drinking, and I just didn't hang out with them. I just went home and studied for the tests we had and shit, like a nerd. But yeah, it was like I was like, I'm losing out on this bonding experience. Am I going into a profession that I'm not going to relate to anybody now? All these guys that are obvious, like, they're firemen, right? Like, you think, like, these big macho motherfuckers that, like, they don't talk about feelings. They just go in there, they work out, and they do their shit. And the women too. I mean, I work with women as well. And it was a very scary time. And then turns out, me being as open as I am and very quick with my mouth about random shit, I've kind of found my part with everyone. Like, people have come up to me telling me that they have an issue with their drinking, that they've kind of noticed this about a family member even, or just, like, simple stuff about their emotions, right? Just being open and vulnerable. Because I talk about shit all the time. I don't give a fuck how embarrassing it might seem, or like I enjoy it. And I got that from one of my best friends, my boy Joe, I mentioned earlier. He was always that dude that would, like, we'd be hanging out with, like, straight gangbangers, and these motherfuckers would be crying, talking about some shit because he's so open. I'm looking at these guys like, these motherfuckers are, like, the scariest human beings I know. And this kid's got them, like, singing Backstreet Boys, doing dances and shit. And it was fucking surreal. And I just kind of adapted his philosophy towards life, which has been remarkable for me. And it's worked. Case in point, like, I'm now my boy Joe for the guys and women I work with at the firehouse. And in terms of, like, no, that's not therapy, right? But I think from going to therapy and realizing that vulnerability, your emotions, and being open and having an open dialogue about what you're feeling and going through has broken barriers for my connections with other people and their connection with me now. And that reinforces me knowing that it's absolutely a valuable tool that everyone should do. I think everyone should go to therapy, not because you're going through something or not because you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, but everyone goes through something. Even if you can't even think right now, you think you had a great childhood and a great life, like, there's some shit you definitely would benefit from talking about. Like, of course, why not, right?
Yeah. It's funny, at the meeting I was at earlier this week, we were actually talking about, like, that idea of, like, spiritual maintenance, right? And rest and on your laurels, kind of, like, not thinking like, oh, okay, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I don't need to be doing anything. Right. So that kind of leads me to the question of, like, so what does recovery look like now, and what do you do to keep going?
Yeah. So, to branch off of what you just said too, about you going to a meeting and replaying back to my relationship with sobriety and going to meetings in general has been interesting, because I mentioned earlier my brother was a very bad addict, and I grew up going to meetings, going to AA meetings with my mom, with my dad, my father started the first AA and Gamblers Anonymous meeting back in the 70s in my neighborhood in Jersey City years ago. And growing up, my mother would go to even Al-Anon meetings for the family members dealing with stuff. And I just remember being a little kid with my coloring book, sitting on the floor in the back of these meetings, just always around this dialogue of sobriety, which definitely, I mean, it added to I got it all figured out shit, because I knew all the mantras. I knew all the things as like background noise. I was like, Mary had a little lamb. I was fucking talking about the Serenity Prayer. And it was just like, I just knew, because I was so familiar with it and then saw directly how it affected my immediate family and how it didn't change certain people, made me bitter towards the concept in general for years, which might have helped prolong my defiance towards getting sober or even considering getting help, because I didn't see it as something helpful. Even if I was blindly telling friends that they need to get sober and getting them help, I still personally felt I knew everything that they could possibly show me, so that there's no way that I could benefit from this now. I have to figure it out my own way. But coming to where I am today, sobriety looks for me it's just being someone I could be proud of and that my family can be proud of. Someone that I know will always be there for my daughter, for my wife, for my family, for myself. That I can count on me and know that people can count on me, knowing that I can be that pillar in someone's life that is dependable. For the longest time, I wasn't that dependable. Mm-hmm. And I think knowing those things, being and helping other people the way I have in any small way that I might have, right? Just being that, having the open dialogue that I do, I think those have been huge, I don't know the word. They've been huge. They've been huge for me to just know I'm going in the right direction and to not really ever question it, even though I do have not constant, it's terrible. I do have those thoughts of like, I mean, it's been long enough, right? I could probably drink again. Mm-hmm. It's fucking crazy, right? Like, I'm almost 8 years sober, and like someone that's 6 months never wants to hear a motherfucker that's 8 years sober say that, because they're like, God, this is fucking hopeless. But it's not, right? Like, the thought is the thought because it's what we're so used to doing. It's something that it's a safety net, and so, like a security blanket to just feel, oh, we can escape from whatever stresses and struggles we're going through, because we know that that's always going to be there, and it will always be there. But knowing that we are temporary, the way off the decisions we make, right? That there's always going to be ways to ruin who we are and what we've built. But to know that we are so much better for the choices we have since made, and can see the life that we've been building, establishing good credit, getting a good apartment, buying a car, you know what I'm saying? Like, all those things that were just so far-fetched to having more than $500 in your bank account. $500 was a lot of fucking money ever in my life. I was like, $500, what do I do with this? Like, to know that, like, I can have money in my bank account and not want to blow it is crazy to me. To know, like, that, and that's just a testament to seeing a future for yourself, right? Saving money is saving for a future, and prior to that, you didn't see yourself having a future. But now you have something to look forward to, regardless if it's a family, regardless if it's just yourself. Because yourself is going to be the first thing. You're never going to get sober for anyone else but yourself. Yeah. And it's just one of those things that constantly reminding myself that I've done the work to feel proud that I've grown from who I was, to have had people tell me that they're really inspired by just the movements I've made, right? Or just the lending ear I've given to people, and knowing that I don't want to let myself down, nor do I want to let anyone else down, is huge. And it's something that it's something that I don't know. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine going back to wanting all that pain back. I can't imagine accepting that back in my life.
Yeah.
because that's what it would be.
Yeah. Well, clearly what you're doing is working. So,
Yeah, this is fortunately for me. Yeah. But I'll still frequent meetings. It's not like I'm just winging it, so I'll still hit up meetings. And in dark times, like when I lost my brother, I was very heavily going to meetings that he used to go to meet people he knew, to meet people that knew his story more than even I got to know, which brought me closer, is morbid and fucked up as it is, to my brother, right? Like, and he's my idol. He still to this day is my idol. He's the reason I am who I am, the reason I write poetry, the reason I like the music I like, the reason I care about and literally anything is because of what he's instilled in me. And yeah, I think maybe getting fucked up was me getting closer to him that way. But now me staying sober is me honoring who he is and who he could have been for his kids and for me,
Yeah. And I think too, it's a testament of the work that you've put in, right? We've talked a lot about like community, the people around you, your support group, right? And in building that around yourself and maintaining it, right? Because it's a thing that you can't just like leave it unnurtured, right? You have to nurture those relationships, and that's the kind of work that you kind of have to keep doing, so that when shit isn't going great, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, you're not alone, and you've got other people that can kind of take the wheel for a little bit when you feel like you can't.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, even if they weren't close friends, right, there's always a community. In meetings, you'll always have a community of people that are complete fucking strangers, but they're like family. It's kind of remarkable. So like, whenever someone that would be like, oh, well, you have a community of people that are looking out for you, so like, I'm alone in this. You're not. There's millions of us. Like, I don't even know if someone's listening to this, right? Like, if someone ever listens to this, I don't know you, right? But like, you got me. Yeah. Like, wherever the fuck you're at, I'm just some fucking Italian dude from New Jersey, right? But we're all part of this collective community that you are never really going to be alone with this.
And it's such a strange thing that I think for a lot of like addicts and alcoholics, like when you're first kind of going into meetings or that kind of thing, you're like, no, these people can't be for real. Like, I've never had a dependable person in my life. And a stranger, you're telling me, like, you're giving me your number, call you, like,
immediately on this, like, a bunch of pieces of paper. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to murder me. You're not going to be my friend. Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm no sucker.
But like, you stick around long enough, you realize, oh, no, these people are really genuine when they say that,
Yeah, and then you realize, like, some of these stories are just like, whew. Okay. And it's always like the most unassuming people, right? You're just like, God damn, it's never the guy with the giant face tattoo that has the terrifying stories. It's like the business man that's like wearing a button down shirt. You're just like, oh my God, okay. You've been there too, huh?
If only.
Only it wasn't anonymous, right?
Well, this podcast is pretty public, so that's part of it. Well, thanks so much for sharing all of that, your story, your journey, where you're at and what you're doing.
And I do want to say to you, within the poetry community, which is how I obviously know you, right? That's been a huge thing with people. One, I mean, like, I write predominantly about sobriety and addiction in general, and maybe not even about the recovery aspect, but the heavy addiction aspect of being in the throes of it. Yeah. And like, not hearing a lot of poetry about that was always like kind of really confusing to me, because I was like, well, what the fuck is there to write about other than like this? Because like, obviously that's me, it's my story. And I'm like going to these things, I'm realizing I hear nothing that I relate to, which was like, one, cool, because I mean, like, I have my own little niche of like, this is John's voice, the sad addict guy. But then meeting certain people such as yourself too, right? But I'll never forget the first Southern Fried I went to. It was 2019, and I don't even know him well at all, right? I met him that year. I haven't met him again since, or seen him again since. But my man from New Mexico, Zach Gluckman, he came up to me when he found out I was sober, and 2019 was my first year, 2 years into it, or whatever time, how many months, but regardless, it was very early on. And then he was just like, hey man, I mean, like, my whole team, we're all sober. We, if you got, everyone's going out and shit, you always hang out with us, bro. And I was just like, the pressure that was released off of my shoulders and chest going down to, it was North Carolina at the time, was like, I was so like super stoked because it was my first like ever event like that, right? And like I wanted to just like obviously be cool, interesting, and like come off attractive and fun, but then also and like fit in, right? And like so I was like, shit, what am I gonna do when the bouts are over? What am I gonna do it? But then meeting him and him finding that out, I guess I don't know if it was like we were just bullshitting or one of the poems I did, whatever it was. Knowing when he said that to me, it was just, whoa, it just opened a whole other door of community, right? Of like, I always had my teammates that were supportive and my community of poetry people up here, right? But just having in the poetry world of a whole new group of people in this space that I really wanted to be welcomed into. And I was immediately welcomed into in a way that I needed to be welcomed into. Was monumental. And I've never actually even told him that. I've never thanked him for it. I mean, I thanked him that day when he did that. And, but I never actually like explained out loud just like what that meant to me. And that was remarkably huge. So it's been dope. Yeah.
And it's back to that like community, right? We love that. He shared his story on this podcast a few episodes ago. So,
cool.
So I think listen, so like now he knows how you feel.
Word. Zach, you're my guy. Thank you, bro.
Here we go. All right. Are you ready to get into some rapid fire?
Good God. Hell yeah. Let's do it. Don't make me look dumb. Please don't make me look dumb.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Fill in the blank. Recovery has given me
an option for a better future.
All right. What's one word you'd use to describe your recovery journey?
One word I would use to describe my recovery journey is exhaustingly beautiful.
Okay. What's a daily habit or ritual that keeps you grounded?
Daily habit or ritual that keeps me grounded is giving my daughter a nap.
If you find yourself struggling or triggered, what's the first thing you do?
If I find myself struggling or triggered, I call my wife.
This or that, morning routine or night routine?
Morning routine.
Meditation or movement?
Movement.
Talking it out or writing it down?
Writing it down.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee all day.
Name one book, song, movie, or TV show that's been meaningful to your recovery.
Ooh, so many. Probably, so I think it'd be a tie between Jack McCarthy's book, The Drunks and Other Poems of Recovery, and then the record by Julian Baker, Sprained Ankle. Those two, I think, would be a strong tie. And also Kaveh Akbar's Calling a Wolf was pretty heavy too. And Nick Flynn. So there's so many. Yeah. But if I had to pick just one, I'm going to go with the music. I'm going to say Julian Baker's record, Sprained Ankle.
Perfect. A piece of advice you return to when things get tough.
It's easy to say this too shall pass, but I don't want to say that one. Things I go... you'll always be better than the worst thing you ever did.
What's one phrase or a mantra that has stuck with you?
See, this one's a hard one because I like really fucking dark, fucked up things that don't really benefit the positive outlook of what we want to do here. But yeah, I mean, in all honesty, like the quote of we all want our time in hell is something that I come back to often because the draw towards temptation and despair makes, as miserable as it is, makes you, or speaking for myself, makes me feel alive in a sense that I actually am still here. And the want of being better or the want of remembering the bad is something that I fuck with heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's entirely valid.
In all honesty, this whole interview too, I've been like wanting to go like very dark. I'm like, I can't. This is what we want to do, is something open and happy and positive and moving forward, right? And obviously that's not at all how we normally go about things in meetings or anything like that. But I wanted to have a different approach to this interview of optimism.
I mean, that's the, I have this manuscript about sobriety that I haven't done anything with in a while. But one of the quotes at the beginning of it is, hell is something you carry with you, not somewhere you go, by Neil Gaiman. So I was like, I get it. I relate. Last question. Sorry.
Yeah, you did.
If someone hears your story today and takes one thing away from it, what do you hope it is?
I want to come off so profound. I would, I do. I so badly want to come off like this. Whoa. But really, I mean, to take away from this, I guess, is make the choices for yourself first, always. Know that any choice that didn't become something prior was only a matter of timing and is not a definition of who you are. And you could do this any way you can is a way of doing it. And there's no wrong way as long as you stay straight and happy. You're doing something right.
Yeah. The wheel keeps turning.
The wheel is now going in the right direction. The tarot.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much, John.
Hell yeah.
That's it for this episode of The Speaker Meeting, breaking the silence one story at a time. A huge thank you to our guests today for sharing their journey with us. Recovery isn't easy, but conversations like this remind us that we're not alone and that change is possible. If you're struggling, know that there is help and there is hope. You don't have to do this alone. For immediate support, you can reach out to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. It's free, confidential, and available 24/7. And if you'd like to share your own story, I'd love to hear from you. You can submit your information at geminisproductions.com/thespeakermeeting. And if this conversation meant something to you, help us spread the word. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. The more we talk about recovery, the more we remind people that they are not alone. Thank you for listening, and until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember, recovery is real.